For Ohio State fans, I wholeheartedly believe that you can expect some improvement in 2023 on the defensive side of the football. Now, I want to also make this clear. 2022, the defense was not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I know there's the whole optics around what happened against Georgia and especially what happened against Michigan and all these people saying you need to get tougher. Like, just you and me right now. Just you and me. Defense was good last year. You were top 25 in points per game allowed, as well as rush yards per game allowed. Top 25 in the country. That's going to be 9 times out of 10 good enough to get to where you want to go. And the standard is the standard. We talk about it here a lot. Beat Michigan, win the Big Ten, win national titles. Like, y'all already know the deal here. But one of the reasons why I feel so optimistic about this defense in their second year under Jim Knowles is just that. It's going to be your second year under the new DC. He's no longer the new DC. He's just your DC. And the thing with Jim Knowles, his reputation kind of precedes him. Defense is complex to learn. Like, just overall, from a general, perspective, it is very difficult to install. There's a lot of typical rules that a defense would go by that are broken in this in this defense schematically with how you line up against the offense. So what I'm trying to tell you is the continuity here for Ohio State is going to breed to more comfortability. And more comfortability is going to allow for more instinctual plays. It also just allows for just a more solid approach. It allows for you to be more comfortable in the defense, which just makes for less stupid errors. Right? Can we say that on here? It makes for less self-inflicted wounds that we saw Ohio State have a couple of times. Against Michigan, 2 busted coverages. Against Georgia, busted coverage. So the continuity in scheme and going into another year in this defense, I think just for all parties is going to be a good thing for Ohio State and going to cause for an even better result on the field. Because it's never a matter of personnel at Ohio State. It never is. You're always going to have what you need to be able to win national titles or at least compete for national titles, okay? I don't have any belief that the Jimmies and the Joes were the issue last year. Now, did they improve the Jimmies and the Joes just a little bit on the back end? Yeah, I think so. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. But Ohio State fans, we've had a lot of y'all join us here in the last couple of weeks. Make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't jumped in and subscribed here to the On3 YouTube channel, no time like the present. Would love to have you here. Also, follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram at JD Piquel. Great mediums for us to hear from you. Would love to hear from y'all there. As I was saying, I don't think that the personnel was an issue so much last year, but I think they have improved it, if we can make that statement. Jahad Carter was the number 1 safety in the transfer portal, according to us here at On3, transferring from Syracuse. He joins that group, and it sounds like he's made a splash of an impression. The good people over at Letterman Row, Ohio State's On3 site, they do a phenomenal job, and they've been very impressed, very, very high on Jahad Carter, saying he looks the part, starting to get comfortable. Also, Davison Igbinosun, another guy they're adding to the secondary. He's young, but he's played some ball in the SEC, transferring over from Ole Miss. So you make 2, in theory at least, according to this coaching staff, you'd have to believe, by nature of them going and getting them from the portal, they have to feel like there's some sort of upgrade in the secondary. And so you pair that with Lathan Ransom, another year in the system. Denzel Burke coming off a really good spring. They're expecting big things from him. The back end of this defense, which allowed for some of the big busted plays a couple of seasons ago, just last season, a couple of games at the end of last season, I think that's a really good sign for Ohio State. Personnel wasn't the Achilles heel, but if you had to pick one group on this defense that needed to produce a better result, it was a secondary. And you've seen some slight upgrades, I believe, from a personnel perspective in the secondary. So a lot of people, we've talked about this on other videos, a lot of people see the Michigan game from 21 and from 22, and they see the box score and see how many yards Michigan ran for, and they say, you know what, Ohio State's just not tough enough. Just not tough enough. And to some extent, I think you succeed that there were plays where Ohio State wasn't tough enough, but I don't buy the narrative that Ohio State isn't a tough football team. I think 2 things can be true. Ohio State was a tougher football team from 2021 to 2022. That team that showed it in Ann Arbor, I don't think that was a tough enough football team. In 2022, I think they were tougher. I think they still have some strides to be made. But again, going back to personnel, I don't believe that you don't have the guys to win in the trenches. JT Tuimoloau, I believe is going to be all Big Ten. Mike Hall, I think he's a dog. Jack Sawyer gets to just play defensive end now. Tommy Eichenberg, another guy for you. Just got a commitment from Tuimoloau from Ole Miss. Big body in the trenches. There's so many pieces on this defensive line to where I feel good enough about where they're at from a talent perspective. I feel good enough about where they are in order to beat Michigan, in order to get back to the college football playoff, to make a push at the national title. It's all there. The offense, you sort of just believe is going to be as good as it was a year ago, or at least be in the neighborhood of as good as it was a year ago. I know you got to replace C.J. Stroud. I'm not just, penciling that in, but I do think you got two options at quarterback. The defense, if they can be ever so slightly improved, it's going to give Ohio State a chance. They don't need to be a top 10 defense in the country, but if you can go from top 25 in yards rushed allowed and top 25 in terms of points allowed to being in that top 15 range in both those categories respectively, I think you feel pretty good. But really it all comes down to how you match up that last game of the regular season when you go back to Ann Arbor, a place that you lost in 2021, line it up again. That's going to be a look in the mirror moment for this team. Because if it's not a personnel thing and the scheme is in a better place than it was in 2022, that's a look in the mirror moment. You can be a tough football team. You can be the toughest football team in the country, but all that matters is that Saturday. Were you the toughest on that Saturday? And now Ohio State, we've talked about it a couple times here, they've been pushed around now. They got punched in the mouth in 2021. They got put on the canvas in 2022. Now you find out who you are. Now you get up off the canvas if you're Ryan Day's football team and find out exactly what's under the hood. How do you respond when you really get knocked down? They get to go to the big house and get to look their rival in the eye and have a chance to take back what they believe is theirs. And I think this defense improving will play a big role in that effort. Will they do it? I don't know, but I promise you we'll talk about it. And I think the defense improving makes you feel a lot better about your odds that day. So Ohio State fans, keep it locked in right here. We talk college football every single day. You're watching a college football video in May, and we love you so much for it. We are cut from the same cloth, I promise you. So make sure you're subscribed. We're live tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. Make sure you hit the bell on this channel so you don't miss when we do go live, all right? We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. We're going to keep this party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all. Thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.